Can you keep a secret? I'm glad you're honest about it. No pastor or reverend or minister, whatever you call us, none of us wants to talk about money. Now, there are some folks on TV especially who are good at it, kind of in a used car salesman kind of way. But none of us dream about writing a presentation on giving. In a society that is always asking for one more thing from us, the last thing any of us needs to hear is about another thing that needs our attention, our resources, our time, our money. And yet, we have this values flower. Remember that? It's one of the new images that illustrates our values from Article 2. And one of the petals on it is generosity, and so here we are. By the way, humor me for a moment, and let me teach you all 7 values at one time. Hold your hand up in the air. All right. Make a fist. Transformation is like a little seed growing in your index finger. Got it? Transformation. Equity, like an equal sign. Pluralism. Justice. Generosity. Interdependence. And love. Good job. You don't need me anymore. You know them all. We're done. I guess there's a little more than that. I talk about my mom a lot. I'm aware. But I hope you'll indulge me for a slightly embarrassing and imperfect memory today. My mom's birthday was this past week. And she died in 2015, but if she were still living, she would be 80 years old. My mom was an absolutely incredible cook. And she could make anything into something delicious. She could create a feast out of very little. But somehow, every year, we always managed to burn the bread at the holidays. It's like it wasn't Christmas until Mom burned the bread. I know we all think our moms are the best cooks. Not yours. But my mom was the best cook. One evening I called my mom to tell her I was on my way over. I'd been at college and I was exhausted, but I wanted her to make me fried potatoes. She said, "Okay, but I'm getting ready to leave with Audrey to get some food and also to visit Fred." Not that Fred. "Okay, do you not want me to come?" "No, you can come, but we have to go get the food before 9. "Okay." 9 was late to get food to me, but whatever. Well, getting food was going behind 3 different grocery stores to get the food that they had thrown out. I told her we didn't have to do this. I would buy her food. But she insisted, and it was wasteful. And so here the 3 of us go. My mom and her friend Audrey. My mom would get into the dumpster and hand things off to Audrey. And Audrey would go on and on about how there was nothing wrong with what was being thrown out. And I mostly just watched in shock about what was happening. Until it was time to get my mom out of the dumpster. Suddenly I realized why it was welcome for me to come on this trip with her. After about 3 dumpsters, Mom said we were done and asked me to take them back home. I thought we were going to see Fred. Not that Fred. She said, "We are, but we need to go home first." We got back to my mom's house and unloaded all the treasures that she had found, and she then started taking food out of her cabinets. Things that were easy to open and some disposable utensils, and she filled a box, mostly with things from her cabinets, and some of the fruit from the dumpster. She pulled out the very best items that she had. The best items that she had scored from the dumpster, and placed them all in the box, keeping only a few pieces of bruised fruit for herself. Then she walked around the house, grabbing other things and putting them in the box. What are we doing? We're going to see Fred. Okay. We loaded the car back up and started toward where we had come from. When she told me to turn back toward the backside of another grocery store, I groaned. I thought we were finished doing this. No one called the police. We escaped. We're okay. Do we still need to do this? We are, almost. Just as I turned the corner, she yelled, "Stop!" And I stopped. There, on the covered back stoop of a Food Lion, was a pile of what looked like packing materials. I thought, oh no, here we go again. But she walked up to that pile and she reached in, and up sat Fred. He was an older man, an amputee. And Mom went to the trunk and she pulled out some of the items and she said to him, "I remembered that you really liked the oranges last time and they had some tonight." His face turned from a sleepy confusion to pure joy as he thanked her. She had also brought him a blanket. The weather was turning colder and she knew he would be cold. "Those newspapers aren't enough, Fred. You need more." That night, my mom and I drove all over our town. She knew where everyone slept. She remembered their names, which foods they enjoyed. She delivered blankets and food and flashlights. She knew about their families and their lives. I've never seen any group of people more grateful. I asked her if they knew that some of the food came from the dumpster, and she said yes, but some of them, like Fred, can't get into the dumpster to get the food. Sarah got stuck in one time because she has a hurt shoulder, and Audrey and I can still get in and out of them. Why don't you buy the food? I would buy the food for you. I would help you. Mary, if you bought the food, I would still go and get what was good out of the dumpster because then I could feed more people. She did this almost every night during the wintertime. I was in my early 20s when this happened, and within the next 10 years, she developed relationships with managers of some of those stores, and they let her pick up the food before they threw it out so that she could hand it out. I know she wasn't the first person to ever do this, but every time I hear about a program working to eliminate food waste, I think of her. Now, as you probably know, there are programs all over the place where stores donate their almost expired items to cut down on food waste and to feed people who are hungry. My mom was poor. She was written out of work when I was 7 years old due to illness. She survived on just a small disability check to pay all of her bills and feed herself because she didn't get much of any food assistance because she didn't have kids in the house anymore. She told me one time that the thing she was most excited about when my brother bought her home for her was that she would have a place no one could take from her. And now she could help more people. She fed literally hundreds of people every year for many years. I never got my fried potatoes that night. But I got a recipe for something much better. I got a recipe for gratitude. My mom gave not because she wanted anything in return, but because she was grateful for all that she had. She gave from the little bit that she had because she knew what it was like to have less, to have nothing. And that's what generosity is. It's not about who gives the most. It's not about giving because people are watching or giving because we are afraid. It's about giving because we celebrate all we have in this life. Article 2 of the UUA bylaws says this about generosity. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources. Our generosity connects us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. There's that word I promised you a few weeks ago you would hear again, covenant. The very foundation of our polity as Unitarian Universalists is bound up in covenant from all the way back to 1825. Our understanding of God and the universe has evolved. But the idea that we are in covenant together has remained. So I'd say it's a pretty important word. When we covenant with one another, we do more than promise something to another person. We also acknowledge that if we live into that promise, it will change us. Covenant can transform. And so creating a covenant around generosity lends itself to understanding that everything we do and give impacts the whole of us. All of the covenantal language in Article 2 is linked back to the center. And what's at the center? Love. You guys are paying attention in class. I'm so proud. The covenant of generosity asks us to give not from a place of lack or a place of scarcity, but with hope and from love. Hope for tomorrow, trusting that there is enough, and gratitude for all that we have. And when we give, just like in the story of Stone Soup, our money, our time, our talents get mingled in with the money and the time and the talents of others, and it becomes more. We become more because we give and because others give. The sum is greater than the parts. And it takes all of the parts. It's not about who gives most. It's not about how you give your money, whether it's cash in the offering basket each week online or by check or by automatic draft. It's about what is created when we give. The community that we create when we give our time for meetings, choir practice, and food. The family we build when walking the crop walk together or serving at RCS. With that, Fred. It's about the way we make this community a little better by providing a building for meditation, meetings of Carolina Nature Coalition, Recovery Dharma, and more. When we give of ourselves, because we are grateful for all that we have and belonging to one another, we become more. Covenant in the value of generosity reminds us that what we have to give is sacred, and whatever we give, if we give it in love and in gratitude for all we already have, it will be enough. And that might sound scary, because we got to keep the lights on, and I heard you hired a minister about 6 months ago. But I trust that we all know what we can give, and I invite you, as we kick off our pledge campaign this week, to think of what you can give, to think of the ways you can give, to think of what it means to you to be able to give, and to think of the ways that gift will be mingled together with other gifts, creating something new. My mom taught me that the recipe for gratitude is loaded with generosity, hope, and relationships, which is what we might call covenant. What each individual ingredient is in your life might look a little different. My mom's included dumpster oranges. Ethan's includes mowing the lawn here at UU. Stu's includes working on our website and giving money online. I wonder, what will your recipe for gratitude include? And I wonder what we will cook up together as we start our next 25 years together. May these dreams and recipes for the future be bright. And let's try not to burn the bread. And so it is.